Welcome into Factfinder Investigates. I'm Dylan Domingue. We'll begin with an update to news out of Rose Hill, where this week police have identified the remains of a young child that was found in the backyard over 2 weeks ago. DNA testing has confirmed that this was the little girl, Kennedy Schroer. What we've learned from police is that she was born in July of 2014 and was then adopted by Christina and Joe Schroer in 2019. Friday morning, police telling us that Kennedy likely died almost 4 years ago in November 2020. Kennedy would have been 6 years old at that time. Now, her remains were found on September 11th in the Schroer's backyard. Right now, the medical examiner still looking into exactly how she died. Police say the level of decomposition to her body makes it difficult to determine. Police telling us that this all began with a welfare check on someone threatening to harm themselves on the night of September 10th. A standoff then ensued, and one person ended up being taken to the hospital in serious condition. And as police continued with that investigation, they say Kennedy's body was found buried in the backyard of the home the next day, leaving the community demanding answers. Still today, no arrests have been made, and while police say they understand the community wants justice and fast, they say it's not that simple.
Right now, the arrests haven't been made because this is an event that happened, we believe, 4 years ago, and that is an awful lot of information to sift through. That's a lot of timelines to put together. That's a lot of interviews to be had and just data points to sift through. If we were to charge an individual too quickly, we might not have a complete story, and then we would risk charging the wrong person or persons.
And we're also learning more about who that little girl really was through the school system that she briefly attended. The Rose Hill School District says that Kennedy was enrolled in the kindergarten program, but was pulled by her parents in January 2020 after just one semester. The district says the parents chose to pursue homeschooling instead. And part of a statement sent to us, the district said they are heartbroken by the thought that if Kennedy remained at school, they may have had the opportunity to recognize signs of concern and offer help.
Ones that remember her talked about how happy she was and how she loved being at school. Said that she just loved being here and was easily remembered. So, you know, she was only here for a semester, so that kind of says a little bit about her.
Rose Hill police did say that Kennedy's case is their top priority now, but when asked how close they are to coming to a conclusion, the police chief said they're still in the beginning stages of that investigation. He wants anyone that might have information, no matter how small it may be, to reach out to the police department. We also have a Factfinder update to an investigation into a deadly apartment fire in October of last year. A third-party review of a two-alarm fire that killed 22-year-old Paoli Badesky will soon be wrapping up. The consulting firm, Jensen Hughes, was selected for that probe in May. Their job is to examine all public safety agencies involved in that fire response, from the first call to Sedgwick County 911 to when the last fire truck from Wichita Fire Department left that scene. Badesky, who was the first 911 caller, died in that blaze. Sedgwick County Commission Chairman Ryan Beatty says he does expect the final report to be made public in 2 to 3 weeks. Arkansas City says its drinking water is still safe as the small town is dealing with the impacts of a cyber attack from last weekend. Factfinder investigator Cale Chapman spoke with the city officials about how that attack was identified and a cybersecurity expert about how this incident is part of a growing national trend.
Arkansas City says water treatment plant staff knew there was a problem first thing Sunday morning when one of their computers stopped working.
The employee could tell that it wasn't just a malfunction, that it was definitely, I think, a request to send an email to this address if you blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, it was definitely not a malfunction.
The city says there are still many questions they are investigating with the help of a representative from Homeland Security.
We're not even for sure who the individual or entity was that created this event, what happened, where it happened, and if we're safe to move on.
According to data from Checkpoint Research, the U.S. saw a 70% increase in cyber attacks on utilities through August compared to last year. Internet security expert Bill Ramsey says there's a reason utilities and government organizations are becoming more appealing to hackers.
They do have some money and there's some very sensitive information, but they probably feel like it's a high target because they can interfere with the operations of a water treatment plant and cause enough headache that they'll get the money out of it.
And oftentimes the hackers won't let go of a system until the owner pays up.
Fees go from a few $1,000s to a couple $1 million. It just depends. And they don't always give you your data back at that point in time. Sometimes they'll say, you paid pretty quick, that means you can pay us again.
In Wichita, Kale Chapman, 12 News.
The city says they don't know how much money this attack will cost them, but they do say they have insurance for situations like this one. The U.S. Postal Service has proposed new changes that could lead to delays in getting you your mail, especially if you live out in rural areas starting next year. The proposed changes comes as USPS tries to save $3 billion annually to get in better financial shape. The Postal Service is putting more of an emphasis on large regional hubs. So if you live closer to those hubs, you may get your mail faster, but those that live further away might see a delay. All mail would still be delivered within 2 to 5 days, but in some rural areas, mail delivery may take an extra 12 to 24 hours to arrive. So instead of a letter or paperwork taking 3 days to reach your mailbox, it might take 4. Now, as for medication in the mail, officials say there should not be much of an impact and it's still expected to be delivered on time, if not even faster. Now, these changes have caught the attention of U.S. Senator Jerry Moran, who calls the Postal Service's proposal concerning, saying in part, rural communities must not take a back seat amidst postal reforms. This announcement from USPS further feeds my concern with the Delivering for America plan and the potential harm it may unleash on rural customers. In this financially challenging time for the USPS, they should refocus on providing quality service that customers will want to pay for rather than degrading services. And if that proposed change are passed, it won't take effect until 2025, so it will not impact election mail and holiday shipments later this year. But speaking of, we're less than 40 days out until the November 5th election, and the Better Business Bureau says with election season comes election scams. The BBB reports hundreds of thousands of these election scams that primarily come through your cell phone. A scammer will pose as someone with a campaign asking for a donation through email, text, or call. But there are some easy ways to protect yourself. If you receive a call telling you to make a donation, just say you want to do more research on who you're sending your money to. If you get a text or email, just hover over the link just to make sure that the website is legitimate.
Want to make sure at bare minimum that your donation is going to that party or to that cause that you think it is. And sadly, this is a real lucrative time for scammers because of their ability to hide behind some of the confusion in our political process and some of the confusion around causes and campaigns that support particular candidates.
And the BBB says to be aware of an increase of scam calls and messages this time of year, not only with elections, but also with holiday season right around the corner. Still to come on Factfinder investigates preying on patriotism, how overseas criminals making fake military photos to get your attention and your money.